3. All right, welcome to the Alien Soup podcast. Today we're doing a late night podcast. Going to talk about aliens and UFOs and all kinds of weird stuff. The Dulce base in New Mexico. It's my birthday today. I'm 35 years old. I know I don't look like it, but I am. So lucky me. And we're drinking micheladas tonight, and we're going to talk about aliens. It's going to be a fun night. So cheers to that. I don't even think we should wait for people to come in because Scott's not coming in tonight, and it might just be us. So we're gonna jump right into it. Ep.4 Alien Soup podcast, and watch what the all the talking heads are talking about in the media. Let's watch some videos here.
Reggie, do you have a question for our guest this evening?
Oh boy, you betcha.
Imagine if you said no.
Oh, I guess I should introduce it. This is the who is this guy named? Whoa. What's this guy's name? I mean, that's Reggie Watts. I know him, but what's the show? The main host? I don't even know. Anyways, Reggie Watts asked Barack Obama about aliens. That's the introduction to this video.
Oh boy, you betcha.
Imagine if you said no.
Yeah.
Imagine like, do you know what?
No, I'm good.
Do you know what? I'm gonna skip it tonight.
That's pretty.
Yeah, I have a
That's
question. It goes to. Let's make it for President Obama. He's here. All this talk about dem aliens, with the what are they, UAFs or whatever they call them? You know, all the footage and everyone talking about it. It's like, what is your like? I know that doesn't necessarily.
Oh,
mean
Scott
aliens.
is here.
It is just a UAF. But
Hey,
I was wondering if
Scott.
you have a theory about that?
Oh, happy. Thanks. Thanks.
Well, when it comes to aliens,
Boom. Hold on. Pause right there. He basically admitted it. Right there. He admitted aliens. Well, when it comes to alien, he could have just said UFOs. He could have been UAPs. He could have like totally downplayed it. He just straight up was like, well, when it comes to aliens, listen. I mean, listen to how I framed the question. Let's go back.
well,
Wait.
Doesn't necessarily mean aliens. It is just talking about it. It's like, what is your like? I know that doesn't necessarily mean aliens. It is just a UAF. But I was wondering if you have a theory about that.
well, when it comes to aliens,
No.
there's some things I just can't tell you on air.
But you'll tell us off air. Great.
The throat.
UAS could be, totally
Not. Well, duh. He's like, yeah, I know some shit.
way hiding the UAS because he knows that, one, we talked about it earlier in the podcast, Nazis and a bunch of other man-made UAS as well out there, which is like what we're trying to uncover as well.
That's what I'm saying. But he just straight up said aliens.
Said aliens?
He just straight up said aliens.
Well, he could have been like I said, trying to throw us off.
All right, let's keep going.
Because of the aliens.
You know, no, look, the truth is that when I came into office, I asked, right? I was like, all right, is there the lab somewhere where we're keeping the alien specimens in spaceship? They did a little bit of research, and the answer was no.
So I mean, if Clinton would have told it, like said something like that back in the 90s when he was president, or any president before him, if they would have like admitted that they don't get that kind of information, like it's like, I don't know, it would be like damaging to the presidency that the guy who's supposed to be leading the show doesn't get all the information. He doesn't get the lock and key to everything. How is he supposed to make fair assessments, or if he doesn't get all the information?
Yes. Yeah.
what is true
Let's keep going.
And I'm
Sorry,
actually
I didn't
being
mean to.
serious here, is that there's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory. They did not have an easily explainable pattern. And so,
Yeah, Obama, we know.
People still
So
take
okay,
seriously-
so that's pretty much it for that one. I'll save you the rest. I think because some of these other ones we're gonna go through are it's kind of big that, I mean, it kind of admitted this before, but so let's go into, let's see, this one is, how long is this one? That's a long one. We'll do a shorter one. That's a long one. So this one's the shorter one. 5 minutes. My favorite news channel. Right here. So these guys they'll break it down for us intelligently, better than us. So let's check out these guys right here.
Yesterday, President Obama asked on late night television about UFOs.
That's funny. I didn't think about it.
When it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you on air.
Yeah.
But what is true, and I'm actually being
Sorry.
serious here, is that there's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain
Well, no shit.
how they moved, their trajectory.
Figured it out.
They did not have an easily explainable pattern. And so
Sorry, we
you know,
just
I
watched
think
that exact same
we're-
thing.
people still
But
take
they're gonna
seriously
extrapolate.
trying to investigate and figure out what that is.
That was one of the most tortured ways of saying we have no idea what the hell is going
Classic
on.
Obama.
Which at least is the
Classic
truth. I mean, he wouldn't
Obama.
even say it whenever he was in office. There's a continued quote here. He says, "Quote: When I came into office,
Right?
I
They
asked,
took
right,
that
I was
picture,
like, all right, is there a lab
closing it.
somewhere where we can
I
alien
don't
specimens
know.
in the spaceship?" And they did a little bit of research, and the answer is no. And then he launches into the answer. That
Yeah,
you sent there.
I think he's joking in that part, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Look,
Yeah,
there's a lot of
joking about what?
conversation to be had about whether presidents can even be told a lot of this stuff. President Clinton famously, I think he was asked on stage in 2005, and he's like, "I'm embarrassed to say I
Your
tried
mic's
to
not
find
working.
out, and I couldn't." And because John Podesta, his chief of staff,
Oh, shoot.
is a huge UFO guy, and
How about now?
actually wrote a foreword to Leslie Kean's book on UFOs, and he also admits that while he
Scott,
was
is
in
Jesse's
office,
mic
the
working?
second most powerful person in the United States government, he was unable to attain a lot of the information that we have around this. So I do think that
He just basically said that. Let's rewind it a little bit. I think your thing is working. I didn't have that button on. That's why. We're only in episode 4. Still learning episode. Those are our pilot episodes. Yo, check it out. What did Scott say? So what David Wilcox said in his video, the DS's goal is to introduce the white or the tall whites to us in hopes that humanity will fall under a new religion, not give full disclosure. What the hell? Damn.
Like legit introduced the aliens.
So that's like a new species of aliens, the tall whites, and the hopes that humanity will fall under a new religion. Dude, that's what I've been telling you. These people are trying to pump this religion. They're trying to turn aliens into. They're trying to mash aliens into spirituality and then turn it into a religion with labels and titles, just how they did to Christianity, and they're trying to take the same structure. They see the power vacuum, and they see that they think that this is going to cause a collapse of many people's beliefs in religion. So it's like they're creating a safety net. Well, now people are going to believe in this. So instead of like follow maybe possibly the aliens' true religion or whatever, they have this stuff for people that have to believe in something. I literally think that, and it's scary to me because it's like, who's going to be in charge of that, you know? Like, because it's like a bunch of false prophets, a bunch of people that definitely don't know what the heck they're talking about.
So you don't think that the aliens are gonna have any part of that, or so you're saying that the whole alien invasion?
No, I'm just saying disclosure. Disclosure in itself is going to make people freak out. Like some people that are extremely religious are going to be like, "Oh my God," like, or "Oh, you know, whatever, God doesn't exist," and I feel like a lot of these. That's why I get like upset with some of these books. Is that they're trying to translate religion into this alien agenda, and I'm like, why? What does this? Like, where is the other evidence that any of this has to do with religion? Like, really? Maybe, you know, maybe at its baseline, like maybe possibly they gave us the 10 Commandments if you want to like tie in the Bible to like them being, you know, angels and stuff like that. But why are we recreating this man-made structure that's already failed for thousands of years and caused murder and mayhem and all this thing, and then just trying to translate it to the next thing, when really, to me and from my point of view, a lot of those organized religions are there to manipulate people. And I just see those same things, those same faulty things waiting for people.
I think that's gonna be the entrance to the New World Order when they stage the.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So to me, it doesn't. That's why a lot of these books, I'm like, who's really behind them? I mean, not necessarily that book, but.
But okay, I've also read and multiple different sources about like spiritual, like.
Wait. Sorry. He says that it's not trying. Your mic's not working.
What? Again?
Are they trying to merge? Aaron Jagan said, "Are they trying to merge Christianity and Islam to form a new religion?" Off topic. I don't know. That's what evidence? Mic is still not working. See, I can hear you fine.
I can hear myself too.
Hold on. Maybe it's something on the computer. Stick with us, folks. OBS is using microphone. Mic aux. Hold on here. I guess let's watch this for a sec while I figure this out.
To Leslie Kean's book on UFOs, and he also admits that while he was in office, I mean, the second most powerful person in the United States government, he was unable to attain a lot of the information that we have around this. So I do think, though, it is very interesting that Obama's comments, especially remember Obama was president during many of the encounters, or at least whenever a lot of it was being studied in the program which eventually came to light in 2017 under the Trump administration. So if anything, he would be privy at the very least to some of the footage that we see here. Same thing where Tyler Cowen recently asked John Brennan, who was a CIA director, and he said the same thing. Under Obama, he was like, yeah, there are unexplained phenomena, and we have footage of that. And I think, again, one of the important pieces of the discussion is people are always trying to say, like, they're drones, you know, these are foreign drones. There's a big piece, I think it's in the War Drive or whatever, saying that these are Chinese or Russian or some sort of either enemy or unknown terrestrial technology. Whenever people say about, and I think Lou Elizondo said this in the CBS special, we're talking about something that's going like 13,000 miles per hour, which defies all, like, the laws of physics and of known human flight. There's no drone on Earth capable of doing something like that.
Right.
And the mystifying nature to which Obama, I mean, this is one of the most confident people in the world, and he's like, you know, dumbstruck about how exactly how to talk about it, I think does tell you that if this was foreign technology that they were trying to cover up, they would just be handling it very differently.
That's very true. And yeah, I mean, look, obviously the military investigated all of those obvious, like, oh, is it a shadow on the radar? Is it a drone? Is it a weather balloon or whatever? Like, clearly they ruled out those possibilities to get to, we just don't really know. For me, what's significant about this is it just shows how mainstream this conversation has become in a very short period
Because
of
of
time.
60 Minutes. Because of 60 Minutes.
Because of 60 Minutes. The big revelation in that was that one of the pilots said he saw these things every day.
I know.
I mean, he's like, this is a regular occurrence. We saw these things every day. I don't happen to know whether that was during the time period that Obama was president, but it very easily.
Probably second half of the Bush administration, but yeah.
Yeah, so this was things that were on the record already within government circles at that time. And so, but the fact of the matter is, this is probably the first question he's ever gotten on this
He was asked by
topic.
Colbert once, and
What?
he was like, I can't tell you that. Yeah, that was it.
That's it.
I mean,
late night comedians are the only ones who apparently
Yes.
ask the question about what's going
somebody,
on here.
instead of laughing around,
'Cause they
with Joe
can
Biden,
joke
we should
about
ask
it.
him about UFOs.
All right, so pause real quick. Test your mic.
Testing.
Can write in the comments if you can hear her. Hopefully that worked. Maybe we just had to reset it because hers was unplugged, and you know how electronics are. Every time there's always something fidgety.
Right. You have to reinstall it or
I could unplug everything or like restart the computer, but we're already too far into this thing now. Let's see. So he says, let's see. I guess we can take this one out. I don't know. No, still not working. That's so weird because we can hear it. Might just have to use this.
What? No.
All right. Let me just read these comments real quick. Sorry, this is turning into a disaster. I can hear her through your mic.
Okay.
Maybe if I hit
Do you have to whoa.
test. No, that's just for.
Isn't there a little knobby so you can add me into the.
No, that's not it. I don't know why it's not working. It should be working. I think it's because it was unplugged. We'll probably have to restart the whole computer to get it to work.
Dang. All right.
So not at all, huh? You can't hear her. Well, yeah, maybe just unplug it. Did you?
Unplug it and replug it.
I don't know. I tried that too. So it saw a statement from Obama speaking to David Wilcox's point that Obama claims that he thinks that people will fall under a new religion with aliens. Oh, yeah. I think I agree. And I think they're going to perpetuate, there's going to be the same charlatans as before. It's weird because I can hear you. So the output, if it's both of those are going into there, the output should be fine.
Testing.
How about now?
Do you see my? I don't see my output. Oh, do you see my output out there?
Yeah, I see it.
It barely though. It's not as big as yours.
Oh, that's because it's coming out of this mic. It's just this mic. But, yeah. Oh, I guess let's try this. I mean, it might sound weird. Does that sound weird? Just talking to it now. Scott, we might have to have you help us with a sound check tomorrow. Yeah. I don't know. I guess let's just go to the next video. I'll try to figure something out.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, we're brand new at this. If you can't tell. So this is a little bit. So okay. This is from Politico. Now this is going to show clips from the 60 minute.
I'd love to know what he had.
This is going to show clips from the 60 minutes thing that pretty much kind of, I guess, broke this the widest and got these other news stations talking about it. When we go to the part about Dulce, I'll just give you the mic and then We'll just pass it back and forth. But we'll watch this here for a sec. Obviously, they've seen this 100 times.
Objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
We just have to face the fact that maybe we're not alone in the universe, which hurts our ego a little bit.
And the Senate wants answers.
Anything that enters an airspace that's not supposed to be there is a threat.
My name is Brian Bender, and this is my abduction story. I call it my abduction story because sometimes I felt like I was getting sucked into this UFO enthusiast world. Here is your guide to understanding what's going on with the Pentagon and UFOs. Politico started delving into the UFO issue when we reported one of the first stories about the existence of a Pentagon UFO research office. It's not just they have an office that's looking into this, but there's some real experiences that our pilots are reporting that are getting at least some attention in the Pentagon. What I came to understand was that even within the military, there was a reluctance to look into these things because I think military personnel have been concerned about being labeled, tinfoil hat wearing kooks if they start talking about UFOs. But clearly, there were enough reports that they really couldn't ignore it. Since the UFO task force became news in 2017, more politicians are more comfortable than ever talking about unknown objects in the sky.
We have lots of reports about what we call unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Let's take a quick look back at how this all happened. In 1952, the U.S. Air Force launched Project Blue Book to look into UFO sightings, but you'll hear more about that later on. Fast forward to 2008, the Pentagon's secret UFO office known as ATIP was established. It wasn't until 2017 when footage of Navy pilots witnessing UFOs leaked and the existence of the Pentagon UFO office became known that the story really started to get interesting. By 2019, members of Congress were receiving classified briefings about UFOs. In 2020, the Senate Intelligence Committee, led by Senator Marco Rubio, decides they want to request a government report on UFOs. A public report that not only pulls together what the government might know about UFOs, but more importantly, what they're doing to get to the bottom of these mysteries. When the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program was created at the Pentagon, it was given a fairly innocuous-sounding military name. That way, there was no reference to UFOs. In the summer of 2017, my reporting uncovered that this office had existed. They'd been given a significant amount of resources, and so I started digging to find out the origins of the office, also where all that money was spent. And it was former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid who secured $22 million to establish the UFO's ATIP program. Next on our journey, we talked to some politicians themselves. Good morning, Senator Reid. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I was the first to get involved in this.
Harry Reid from Nevada.
Much to the consternation of my staff, they told me, stay the hell away from this. It's not anything that's going to help you.
So at the time, it sounds like your political advisors thought that this could be damaging politically. In other words, if you're associated with this, people will think Harry Reid has lost it.
It's not just a bunch of weirdos that are thinking about this. I think it's people who are really curious. The more time we spend on this, the more people are beginning to understand.
Are you hopeful that some of these very secretive agencies will be willing to share more of what they're seeing, what they're gathering?
What we have to do is understand that there are different levels of transparency. I think the administration has an obligation to make sure that what information they have that is important to the security of our country, that they make sure members of Congress know what's going on.
One of the biggest challenges, not the biggest challenge in this subject is, and this is true of any subject, but when it comes to UFOs, it's kind of on steroids, and that is separating fact from fiction, from fantasy, from theories, because there's a million theories, and Lots of different perspectives on what these things could be or not be.
Something strange happened in the skies over Arizona that still hasn't been fully explained.
Fife Symington was one of thousands who witnessed one of the most famous UFO sightings.
Oh yeah, this is a great
He
one.
was also governor of Arizona at the time, making him probably the highest public official to ever report a UFO. I met with him at the Arizona Historical Society, where there was a new exhibit to the Phoenix Lights. So take us back, 1997, you're governor of Arizona. You were on your way home from the governor's office, right?
Yes, and I've been listening to the news. There have been some sightings, and I said, you know, I'm going to go take the car, and I'm going to try to get to the high ground and take a look and see if I can see these Phoenix Lights that everybody's talking about. I was being a truant. I was slipped my detail. I drove my car down and crossed the 51 and went up into this little park, and there were a whole bunch of people. It was really dark, a whole bunch of people standing around, and I just sort of very quietly moved in and turned and looked to the west, which is where the bright lights were. And then somebody in the crowd said, "Oh my gosh, look at that!" And so I pivoted and turned, and there it was. It was coming right over us. You know, with Squaw Peak in the background. It was really majestic. The thing that really was extraordinary was there was absolutely no sound at all, no noise. I mean, and everybody was quiet, and it just passed over, and no jet engine noise, nothing.
So as a pilot yourself, unlike anything...
Never seen anything like it. Never.
Or imagine.
No. I keep telling my friends that nothing will really ever be settled until whoever they are decide to land on the White House lawn and get down and say we've come in peace.
So we know the government has studied UFOs and the phenomenon for decades. But the last
we know that.
investigation was a long, long time ago, nearly 50 years ago when Project Blue Book wrapped up. Since then, as far as we know, the only public effort is
MJ-12,
the project that was started by Harry Reid. I should mention that these days I'm based most of the time in Arizona, which is the perfect backdrop if you're covering UFOs, because there's lots of history of sightings in the southwest of America. The next step in our guide is to meet the true believers, and you start to see it's not your typical tinfoil hat-wearing fanatics, at least not always. Two of my guides
What are you trying to say there, bud?
world of UFOs have been Karen Berard, who runs the UFO Congress, which is an annual gathering of all sorts of academics, scientists, average citizens who want to know the answers.
Hit that thumbs up button if you want us to go to the UFO Congress. Do a YouTube video about it.
Let's go.
Unpacking fact from fiction in the world of UFOs.
So who is supposed to put this together and release it?
Well, the congressional language is pretty clear. The Director of National Intelligence has to publish a public report by June. And, the language is pretty specific.
There's no way to know whether they're going to be telling the truth or not.
Well, I mean,
I don't think they're going to lie.
I don't think they're going to make stuff up.
Yeah.
But
they might not.
They might
stuff secret.
Yeah.
They
Like,
might not include a lot of things.
Right.
Right.
I'm most interested.
It'll be heavily redacted for sure.
They're the
Yeah,
most invested.
like most of the CIA.gov documents are heavily redacted.
What are they going to say?
I think it's going to be mostly redacted, maybe some vague sentences.
Yeah, we have to fight for full disclosure.
The conspiratorial ideas, and that's due to research.
After the close of Project Blue Book, there was a memo that came out where one of the generals said, "That's okay. We didn't need Blue Book anyway. All of the cases that have, are a concern for national security go elsewhere. This data goes into these tiny little pockets here and there, and so hopefully that will be the result. We'll see in this report that they'll be combining."
The question is, okay, once they centralize the information, the government centralizes it, will they share it with the academics, with the scientists outside the government that might be able to make sense of it?
Right, because the government isn't a scientific place, but if they can give, some of the professors some information, maybe they would have to get clearance first in order for them to start working on it. But at least that's a start.
Finally, the last stop on this guide is a former government UFO expert. These sightings and government research isn't just contained in the United States, of course. Nick Pope has become one of the most credible...
Oh, dude, this guy's the best. He's like the most credible guy on UFOs.
For many years studying the issue for the British Ministry of Defense, and I met up with him at his house in Tucson, Arizona.
The second and critical question is, do UAPs represent
Yeah, because the British were pretty open about studying them, but they were just, I don't know, I guess no one really cared, but a lot more open about it, I think, than the U.S. was.
Like what year? What year?
And I think it was around the 60s. And when he was like really young when he was working there.
I have something about the Japanese were also interested too. There was a network that went and
Yeah, and the Russians too, right?
yes.
Yeah, we'll get into those.
But they had crash sites.
Yeah, we'll get into Russian crash sites.
Possible threat to the defense of the realm. We could argue never shown hostile intent. However, Russian aircraft attempting to penetrate the UK air defence region in the Cold War never showed hostile intent, but they certainly represented a threat. Thus,
Just if you show up and you don't do anything doesn't mean that you're not necessarily...
And this is it in a nutshell. Thus, the only logical conclusion that we can come to is that we do not know if UAPs represent a threat to the defence of the realm. And this is defence intelligence, science and technology.
I was a career civil servant in the British government in the Ministry of Defence, so the UK equivalent of the DoD in the States. I was given a job where my duties included researching and investigating the UFO phenomenon to assess any defence implications. I came in really with no baggage, no kind of preconceived notions, really an open mind, and I tried to take a data-led approach.
Do you have any sort of guideposts to figure out, okay, what is credible data?
There are a lot of well-meaning people who see UFOs who just misidentify things, of course. I mean, that's actually the majority of sightings by a clear margin. We dropped UFO and substituted in UAP. And this was something that we did in the Ministry of Defence in the 90s. Now, we didn't invent the term, but we adopted it precisely because we wanted to get within the Ministry of Defence stakeholder engagement. If you go in and say, boss, I'd like some funding for UFOs, no way. If it's like, well, we've got some things going on in our airspace and we want to do a study into unidentified aerial phenomena, it reframes it as maybe a science problem, a defense, national security issue.
Having covered the Pentagon and the military for a long time, I was familiar a little bit with the history of the military looking into these
Pretty
unexplained
picture.
sightings. From what I've been reporting, very senior people in the U.S. government who have the security clearances you would think that would allow them to know about these secret programs, they claim they don't know about them. One of the things we've tried to do in our reporting is focusing on what the government is doing about them. So what kind of taxpayer dollars is being spent to research these things? What agencies are involved? That leads us to this public report. And I think Congress's intent there is to try and force the government to be a little more organized about it. Because there's all these reports and all of these theories, conspiracy theories about what the government knows and what it might be hiding. Usually the government has the answers. Somebody does. They know where the document is. They know what the enemy is doing, or at least they have a good sense of it. This is like that rare instance where even people who are supposed to know are like, I have no idea.
All right, very cool. That's from Politico's YouTube channel. So thanks for everybody in the who's joined us tonight. Aaron, thanks for joining us. If you want to subscribe, I will be doing these probably at least one a week. We have some other stuff. We're gonna do some our own personal little side shows where we talk about a bunch of stuff. But let's read what's going on in the comments real quick. All right, it says okay, Aaron says people who are afraid of the highest levels of power obviously know the truth. We're just pawns in this game of chess. You got anything to say to that?
I'd say I agree. People who are of the highest levels in power do know the truth, and this is becoming more of a structured show, more than we expected. And we still don't know, I don't know, about Q. I think is still a psyop in some way, which we have talked about in earlier episodes, but
you missed out last time.
Oh, yeah, you talked about it.
Yeah, we went deep on the Q in my solo episode.
You believe it? You believe? What do you believe about?
I don't know. I think you're right. I kind of think it's there's a good possibility part of it is a psyop. However, like I think that there's a lot of things that they're correct about, but I think that everybody's fooled. I don't think that anybody really knows exactly what's going on, and that's by design.
Damn it.
Anyways, let's continue reading. Yes, we were pawns in the game of chess. Yeah, it's true. I feel like things are changing. I feel like because of the internet and all these things, like everything's getting exposed, right?
I think it's because there's like too much information now. Like there's too much evidence out there for them to contain it. So now it's like a smorgasbord of misinformation of like, oh, look at this then and look at that and this can be real too then and all this other stuff. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, because there's evidence of it, but like it's almost like they're mocking it now or just trying to be like tinfoil hat people type thing.
That's what we went into though, because we were talking about how like why is MSNBC still talking about Q when there really hasn't been much in the Q, whereas like a lot of the other channels, you know, they don't really know about anything about Q. That's what we kind of pointed out was like no one even understands what Q really is even about. You know, they think there's some like organization and stuff. It's like, no, it's literally just a bunch of people talking about ideas and sharing information. And it just so happens that, you know, there's definitely, I don't know what percentage, but a good percentage, more than 50% of what's being put out is most likely misinformation or disinformation. But it's from multiple people like that's necessary, that they want the crazy stuff to be put out, because if they're just constantly putting out true things that are against their enemy, then their enemy can identify them or has to find more legit means to get rid of them. But if they delegitimize themselves with disinformation, then all they have to say is, don't listen to them. They're crazy. But when every now and then something comes out that they say is true, they're like, well, but that was true. That's all they need is those little nuggets of gold.
Ooh, good analogy.
So Scott says, from what I've seen follow now, the Fauci being exposed, their alien invasion agenda is going to flop. What about this, though? What if the aliens do invade anyway? I mean, there's been stories like from the Bhagavad Gita or whatever, where aliens are warring with each other in like a old style Star Wars, basically in the sky. Happened over Germany as well.
Dude, so that already happened.
Yeah.
It happened in our past.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. It happened in our past.
Yes. So we'll figure out this sound. We'll figure out this mic situation. I think I know exactly what happened. I think that we have to reset the whole computer, but we're in the middle of a podcast, so we can't do that because we got some discount equipment. Okay. Fauci exposed has nothing to do with aliens, but something to do with another plan that's going to expose these elite cabal. Yeah, it's just it's part of the thread that they're tugging at. Q in the time of truth will tell the truth. The PSYOP, the real plan we're going to see soon. The MSM is trying to discredit them still. David Wilcock has an episode where explaining the boomerang-shaped craft as a blimp with lights, and people could see the fabrics moving around. That's crazy. Then Aaron says, so why are the UAPs always hang around military installations, etc.? It seems that way. Did you all saw the UFO patent report? It's a bit of a stretch, to be honest. No, I did not see the UFO patent report. That's something we'll have to look up.
I seen it on TikTok.
What was it about?
It was just different like patent numbers. I'll show you.
Oh yeah, I've seen some old school patents on UFOs, but they were just like ideas.
No, not like that. Like this was actually like legit application for these things.
Interesting. All right, we're gonna go to the next video though while you look for that, if you can find it. And kind of along the similar lines of where we've been going.
More evidence of adrenochrome.
Oh my gosh, adrenochromes. So this is the actual 60-minute report. I guess I don't know if we're beating a dead horse here, but I mean this is what we're here to do. This is what kind of blew the whole thing off blew the lid off the whole thing.
And we saw this little white tic-tac looking object.
Commander Fravor. Oh no, I'm sorry. So this is this is Russell Brand's take. We're just gonna watch the first minutes of this. He's funny. And he's definitely awake to everything that's going on. So let's hear what Russell Brand has to say.
And we saw this little white
sorry.
tic-tac looking object.
No, that is a tic-tac. New footage confirms the existence of UFOs or UAPs.
Oh my God, I'm an idiot. I didn't hit the right button. Let's start this over. I'm such an idiot.
Saw this little white tic-tac
There we go.
object.
No, that is a tic-tac. New footage confirms the existence of UFOs or UAPs as they're now known. Does the fact that this information is coming from the Pentagon undermine it in your mind? Why are these revelations being made now, at this point in history, midst the pandemic and the legislation around it and the peculiarity of the culture wars and conflicts that the world is cleaved apart in this moment? We'll be speaking to Jeremy Corbell on Under the Skin, my podcast on Luminary soon. But let's, before that, try to understand the implications of these revelations and its implications around politics and power.
On a pitch-black night off the coast of California, newly leaked video allegedly shows one of the U.S. Navy's stealth ships tracking an unknown object in the sky.
Say what?
And after a few minutes...
Splashed. Mark bearing and range.
I spoke to Jeremy Corbell recently to organise his forthcoming interview on Under the Skin, and he told me the reason that this particular piece of footage is significant is because the object transitions between being in the air and under the water. That distinction shows that it requires a propulsion system that is difficult to conceive of having ever come from human beings. Me, I'm only interested in the tech as so far as it indicates an intelligence beyond what we can conceive of. And that's always been obvious, hasn't it? It's like, as Arthur C. Clarke says, either there is extraterrestrial life or there isn't, and we're alone in the universe. Either proposition is kind of giddying and amazing. But for this historic moment we are experiencing now, what's interesting is that something that was always on the periphery of culture, always in the margins, discussed by nerds and eccentrics, always seen through the lens of the B-movie or the psychotic. Probes from an alien, you're some kind of weirdo, son. And now is Barack Obama is talking about it. The Pentagon are admitting it. Now, gosh, don't think of me as some sort of super cynic ridden with doubt, but why are they saying this? Particularly as we're living in a really interesting time due to the pandemic and the consequences of the pandemic, the legislative changes and restrictions that are resulting from the pandemic, the pharmaceutical implications of the pandemic, what's happening between America and China. You can't, I don't think, divorce this from geopolitics. Where does this event fit into the geopolitical landscape of today? How is it being used? Or is it simply a kind of a smoke bomb sideshow situation? It can't be, can it? Because if there is life beyond Earth, intelligence beyond Earth,
And as I, for one, have always suspected that intelligence has been communicating with humankind throughout history, and even biblical encounters of celestial beings are in fact reports of extraterrestrial life, that the way that we perceive of consciousness, i.e. consciousness happens inside the brain and can't be transmitted, versus the idea of consciousness being a kind of a frequency that we can all tune into. All of these are...
So you know, like that. I know you'd like that part.
I've been saying that this whole time.
Yeah. I've been trying to turn her on to this guy, and she doesn't listen to anything I say until I make her watch it.
Well, no, because like mainstream. I've seen a lot of his videos, and a lot of the time I'm like, well, you know, like maybe it's a little stretch, but I mean, this is the first time I've heard him say something like that.
Because you don't watch enough of his videos to really understand it.
Yeah. I've read a lot of books, though. I've read all these books that talk about these kinds of things.
Yeah, she's going to do her own little sideshow talking about more of the spiritual side of the extraterrestrials. If you guys like and subscribe. Hit the like button on this video so YouTube shares it, and subscribe so you can come in on more of our future episodes and get in the conversation. Because we want to hear people's ideas. All ideas are welcome. We want to know what's going on. We're trying to figure it all out like everybody else.
Ideas become attached. They are the cargo of this revelation. If there are spacecraft that can transition into aquatic travel and aeronautical travel, then that means that they're using propulsion systems that operate outside of our understanding of physics. That energy, the most fundamental component of reality, is behaving in ways that we can't comprehend. Of course, the revelations in the realm of quantum physics opened our mind to the possibility that we are operating in a narrow bandwidth of all potential realities. Even observable to us are different physical laws playing out. But this casts it wider open still. What are the political, spiritual, economic, ideological ramifications of such an earth-shattering event?
The 2019 footage obtained by filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who last month released another video of an upside-down pyramid UFO hovering above a Navy destroyer.
Jeremy Corbell did indicate to me that there would be great revelations. I made it clear to him that what interests me most of all are the spiritual side of it. I'm interested in, because you watch these videos, I'm interested in the way that systems of power...
Should we get Jeremy Corbell on the show?
We can't afford it.
I don't know if he cares about our show very much. Hold on, let's pause real quick. We got some I want to read. I'll send you the video, the name of the patent for the ship. Oh yeah, she was showing me some patents. That's interesting stuff. He said, but why release these patents for the other countries that can see it? Probably because they don't have the means to. They probably don't know about the elements and a lot of the actual I mean, I guess what would there be patents on? They'd have to get control of whatever the power source is that's powering these ships.
Well, one of these patents said that it was some type of a turbine that used gas, and I'm thinking that it's not.
Yeah, so if that's what I say. If it's stuff like that, they were trying to build. They were trying to build these kind of crap back in the 50s, and most of them didn't really work that well. So I mean, there's tons of patents out there for UFOs, but how many of them are actually anti-gravity propulsion systems that are splitting the fabric of space and time around it? All right.
So I seen this TikTok where some guy opened a portal in his room, and when every time he walks into his room, the Bernstein Bears, their name changes. It goes from Bernstein to Bernstein. And it's just you can see it right there. Okay, I'm sorry. Go watch it. It's there to do it. It's crazy. Okay, I'm just saying.
What does that have to do with aliens right now? You're talking about the Mandela effect?
No, because the Mandela effect. But you're saying about ripping space and time. But it's like that some guy supposedly found out how to do it.
Well, that's part of the Mandela. That's one of the Mandela effect theories that Bernstein Bears was spelled differently.
But he did it in real life. Like he was walking into his room and it changed. Like I don't know if
You'll have to get the video. Hold on.
Scott.
There's only like another minute. I want to listen to this.
Are organised. That's what interests me most. Because this has come from the Pentagon, I think, well, hold on, the Pentagon, it's not like Mary Poppins has told us, well, we can tell you now, kids, there are UFOs. It's the Pentagon. You only need to look into the kind of deals those guys are involved in. Proceed with caution. And when blue church legacy figures such as Barack Obama are talking about it publicly, this is a cultural and contextual shift. But for me, the underlying reality that we're dealing with something profound beyond, unprecedentedly profound, has to be acknowledged and explored.
The mission of ATIP was quite simple. It was to collect and analyze information involving anomalous aerial vehicles. What I guess in the vernacular you call them UFOs.
Those of you that have watched this footage, the first thing you have to get past is that man's sort of beard.
We call them UAPs.
For me, even if someone's talking about UFOs,
This is kind of true. It's like, dude, if people take you a lot more serious if you get rid of that beard.
I will have to spend a little while going, "That's an interesting piece of facial hair."
Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G-forces, that can fly at 13,000 miles an hour, that it can evade radar, and that can fly through air and water and possibly.
Think about how much fast we could colonize Mars with that.
Mars is already colonized.
Oh my god! Just dropping bombs every episode. Just dropping bombs on the people. Okay. We got some more videos to look over. I think tonight's just gonna be a video night. We're just gonna watch some videos. We're not gonna get into the Dulce book. I don't think we're gonna have time. It's already getting late. And she's got to work tomorrow. We're still trying to figure out a schedule that's working. Plus it's summertime, so there's tons to do. In this next video, let's see. Okay, I wanted to watch this. This is an MIB whistleblower, supposedly. Now, all we can do is okay. So let me give the video context. Let's see here. I guess we'll just watch it in this thing. So he's supposedly reading the letter of an MIB Men in Black whistleblower, which he'll talk about it a little bit, and kind of give us more of an insight of some of these government programs like MK Ultra, Agenda 21. These are all things we actually knew about. This guy isn't the actual MIB agent. He was somehow related to him or knew him and got the letter. Anyway. And we can't hear.
May 1970 to October 1997.
Let's start.
I served the United States government. My name is Joseph Spencer. From May 1970 to October 1997, I served the United States government as a top secret operative, but not in a category that is commonly known or understood. I was known as a man in black. Following 7 years acting as a counterintelligence agent for the CIA, I was recruited for a new assignment that entailed working within above top secret operations. I was aware of the black budget projects, but never knew the context of them due to their high level of secrecy. Even the president was denied access to their inner workings. Annually, billions of dollars are poured into black projects, which operate without any supervision or intrusion. They have full autonomy. The operations deal primarily with advancing military technologies, most of which have been reverse engineered from recovered alien spacecrafts that had either crashed or were shot down by our military. The public, sadly, will never, ever have knowledge of these operations. This transition in my life happened in 1970. The senior black project director was William T. Latham, who had worked under CIA Executive Director Richard Schlesinger. Latham stated that I was the perfect candidate for my new position. I was a foster child, and I had no connections to existing relatives. I had no friends or social life. It was easy for them to erase my past and provide me with a new identity. I gave myself to them as a priest would to his God. But first, my mind had to be erased. I was injected with various forms of mind-altering drugs, LSD, heroin, mescaline, morphine, sodium pentothal, and more. Drug-induced hypnosis followed with antegrade and retrograde amnesia. The goal was to program me to do two things: kill and forget. After 9 months of programming,
This is that, and that's true. That's MK Ultra. There are plenty of records that actually happened.
I had become a man in black. What I later discovered was that not all the men in black were human. About a third were alien hybrids. Their distinctive feature was the absence of white
Crazy,
eyes,
huh?
giving the impression of empty eye sockets. This unsettled me, and it took months to adjust to the reality of alien integration. My assignments largely dealt with UFO sightings and crash sites. In August of 1971, I witnessed my first UFO crash site just north of Edwards Air Force Base in California. Inside the craft were 3 gray humanoids, 2 dead, 1 still alive. Also in the craft was a human female abductee. The alien humanoids were transported to the base, but 2 witnesses had arrived before us and took several photographs. The first surrendered his camera, but the second fled. When we apprehended him, he resisted, and I was ordered to silence him, which I did. The killing of witnesses was executed with a wand that acted very much like today's taser, but the voltage from the wand would cause immediate cardiac arrest, and the victim's death would be attributed to natural causes. We silenced countless victims, not only men, but women of all ages and even teenagers. The following day, after each kill, our memories were reset, so we would have no recollection of the murders. A good majority of the victims were ufologists and whistleblowers. Among the ufologists I personally silenced were Paul William Cooper, Milton Vigay, Claude Monroe, Anthony Vargas, and noted documentarian Samantha Willis. When my wand malfunctioned with Samantha, I resorted to strangulation. She fought for her life for almost 2 minutes. In recalling this act, I stared into her pleading eyes for the entire duration with absolutely no remorse, guilt, or feelings. That was how effective the mind conditioning was. And it's her face that haunts my dreams more than anyone's to this day.
All right, so pause there, because he just kind of contradicts himself. So he says that after the murders, they'd have their minds erased, but then like he remembers this one murder.
Yeah, why? Was it because he didn't use his wand?
I mean, maybe, but he said after the murders, they would go back and they would have their minds erased. So they wouldn't remember the murders, but he was able to remember that one. I guess, but that's not what he said, you know? It's like kind of confusing.
So they stuffed out a documentarian.
Yep.
Well, that's not good to hear.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move on. In 1954, Dwight Eisenhower signed
Yeah, whatever, pal. It's not about you.
Treaty with the alien gray race. In exchange for shared alien technologies, the Greys were allowed to abduct a number of humans annually for medical examination. The Greys also demanded anonymity from the public. A short time later, human technology took a giant leap forward with circuit chips, fiber optics, and lasers. The grounded treaty is still active today.
That is true.
But the number of human abductions has increased, despite objections from the world governments. Now, the really interesting part. Every year, at least 8 million children go missing in the world. I can attest that 1/3 of them are abducted by government operatives and transported to any one of the 1,477 underground military installations on the planet, then imprisoned for the remainder of their lives. The children are subjected to biological and genetic experiments, dissections, and mutilations performed not by human scientists, but an alien gray species. During my stay at the Vanguard Underground Base north of Phoenix, Arizona, I witnessed many of these procedures. Because there was no form of anesthesia administered to the young patients, the halls reverberated with the screams of tortured children from morning to night. The ones that perished were incinerated in the installation's crematoriums.
Yeah, we're probably going to get taken off YouTube for this video. That's why it's not on YouTube.
Leninger. And he was a human alien hybrid. And get ready for this. In 1994, the World Population Summit in Cairo, Egypt, had 160 nations participate, where they all agreed that the human population was out of control and must be stopped because the world is running out of resources. An agreement was formed that would mandate the reduction of humans from 6 billion to 800 million by the year 2030. This meant finding a method or methods to wipe out nearly 95% of the population. Solutions were discovered, investigated, tested, then created, and have been in full force since. The procedures have been inflicted onto the human race are as follows. 1. Toxic levels of chemically enhanced fluoride have been secretly added to our drinking water over the last 20 years in every city and community on the planet. I personally oversaw the delivery of fluoride barrels to Denver, Chicago, Tampa, and Minneapolis water departments. The adverse effects of fluoride poisoning to the human body are numerous and debilitating. The effects to children is damage to their neurological development, among other serious ailments. 2. Man-made viruses and diseases. The AIDS virus, which was a designer byproduct of the American Disease
This part that's coming up is kind of weird.
was distributed through vaccines to the public in
I mean, his dates are off a little bit, but it's weird.
Instituted as a preliminary population control tactic, the results were successful and led to more lab-produced viruses that have since been unleashed onto the public. Among those is the development of a mutated version of the common flu to replicate the 1918 influenza pandemic that killed 40 million people. The first strain of this new flu virus will be released to the public in late 2017. So if we see a flu outbreak
They're off
late
in
2017,
2 years.
early 2018
Yeah.
that's killing people, we'll know this is true.
All right.
3. Killing us from the air with neurotoxins,
Crazy.
barium chloride, cancer microbes, and viruses by way of chemtrails.
My chemtrails!
Released into the skies daily over all inhabited regions by military aircrafts. The effects of these toxins are severe and over time
Huge
lethal,
chemtrail
causing
researcher.
respiratory
Huge
ailments,
chemtrail researcher.
cancer, damage to the immune systems, and sterilization in men. Since the chemtrail plan was implemented, sperm count in men has dropped nearly 50%. If this isn't reversed soon, the human race will face early extinction. Now the grand finale. This is some scary shit. In March 1997, an event known as the Phoenix Lights became the most infamous UFO
You just saw a
sighting.
thing on that.
A mile-wide vessel, clearly not man-made, flew slowly and silently over the state of Arizona and was witnessed by 10,000 people, including the governor of Arizona. To date, there has been no reasonable explanation. But for every witness interviewed, the craft was as real as anything they'd ever seen. Their lives were transformed. They now believe that we truly are not alone. However, there is another truth, for I know what they really saw. In 1986, while stationed at an underground installation near Boulder, Colorado, I was introduced to Project Skybeam by Lieutenant General Andrew Garris. I was then led down a corridor and into a large hangar where a stealth bomber hovered only 20 feet above me. I stood there confused. Then Garris looked over at me and smiled, then asked if I was certain of what I was seeing. I replied, of course. What else could it be? I was then shocked to find out that this wasn't a real craft. It was a projected hologram. Since the early 1950s, scientists have been developing holographic technology, and over the years improved it to a state that we can only imagine. As I stood there staring at the bomber, which looked so absolutely real and solid that I could reach up and touch it, I contemplated the possibilities. What if this projection was 1,000 feet up in the sky? How would anyone know that that was an illusion? The Phoenix Lights craft, witnessed by 10,000 people, was the first grand-scale skybeam test upon the public. It succeeded beyond expectations.
What?
In October 1938, Orson Welles unleashed his War of the Worlds radio broadcast to the American public. It was so realistically portrayed, vast portions of the population went into panic. Terrified citizens scrambled to evacuate their cities in droves. America had been easily tricked by very simple means. To amplify this response, those who are truly in power of not only our country, but all the countries on the planet, and who are the true purveyors of the depopulation process, have formulated the final stage of their sinister plan. In the year 2024, a global event will alter the course of mankind's future. The world will stand witness to a massive alien invasion. Thousands of projected holographic alien warships will blanket the skies, sending people...
So pause real quick. So if he's off by 2 years, then that's going to happen next year. But if Scott's right about the plan being foiled, basically, then it's probably already over, which I kind of, agree with. Whatever plan they were trying to do is already starting to fall apart. All this stuff. Anything to say?
I kind of agree. I have seen things that were going to happen in 2022. It's like, I guess those dates like 222 or something like that. I don't know, something about numerology or whatever.
So do you think it's going to be an alien invasion, though?
I mean, okay, so what happens if they still try to pull it off? Like, it's going to be foiled, but then they're like, well, let's see if we can fool most of the public.
What you got? I think about what's the gain? What is there to gain from it?
The religion and one world order.
Yeah, but then what if, I don't know. It'd be a weird time to pull something like that. It's not a good time. It's not like
Do you think people would storm their capitals and stuff like that to be like, this is not real, or like...
No, I see something more like that happening when we're at a time of peace and they're like, okay, we need to scare the people into control because they're doing too much of what they want. We need to scare them back into their homes.
Numerology plays a big part in how the cabal plans things. See, I told you.
Maybe. Except there's all those numerology's predictions were wrong all the time as well. I mean, the problem with numerology is you can put a number on almost anything because numbers are everywhere. So you can always find numbers to apply to everything. So, and that's why it's hard to follow along with all this, QAnon number 17 and this date and that date and then this, it's like, yeah, because you can choose, there are numbers everywhere. Oh, and there's 363 and
Although I do see the number 44 a lot. I've never found out what I know what the angel numbers mean, but see, no, I saw 44 about 10, 11 times today. throughout the day.
You see numbers all the time, though. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, you do. It'll change, though. It'll be like, I saw number 11 all day today. I saw 88 all day today. For years that I've known you've done that.
It's been 44 the entire time for the last 5 years.
Then stop looking for number 44. Look for a different number. All right, let's finish this video.
Into a global panic. Real military crafts within the holograms.
I also wanted to say yes that Scott is correct. This is part of Project Bluebeam, their holographic technology. I even was researching this on some of the CIA.gov archives as well, and it talks about hologram technology. They're like the hardware and using crystals and multiple beams, including blue beams type things. So there's a lot in there. So
Scott says it's called synchronicity. Yeah, the problem is that you can find numbers in everything, and that's why they, they'll continuously be wrong about dates and, messaging themselves from the future. It's like, so they always have a variable that they always just change so that they're never really wrong because they're never really right. And they can just constantly go back and slightly tweak. Well, I didn't really mean that. Like, yeah, you did. You were fucking wrong. Just admit it. Your date was off. Your synchronicity is off. It's been off.
Dude, by 2 years, that's pretty. I mean, in the scheme of predictions, within 5 years, come on, you gotta give him credit.
For what? Which part?
What? That all this was gonna happen, and it's been like so he's been off by like 2 years.
Oh, this part. Right. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, but again, that doesn't prove that synchronicity is correct. That proves that it's not correct. Just because he's 2 years off doesn't mean that it means that he knew something was going to happen. Numbers played in zero effect into it because his dates were wrong. Yeah. So like, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Like, the dates are never right.
But I'm saying that.
Like, cause like, what did 9/11 like? What did 9/11 mean? Like, what was the meaning behind 9/11?
That's not my argument. Is oh, I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what 9/11 has to do with why the cabal chose that day.
You can find a bunch of different numbers between the 9 and the 11, and like there's tons of different things that you can separate it for.
My argument was this guy's predictions are pretty close to his dates.
Yeah, that's fine.
From how true they are. Has nothing to do with synchronicity, has nothing to do with the argument that I was trying to make. Synchronicities.
Synchronicities. He just spelled it out for us.
He just spelled it out for you.
Oh, synchronicities. Yeah, well, they're a bullshit, so there's that.
Chaos. A one world government will immediately form without any resistance from the people. They will be the new world order. Once this happens, we as a people will be doomed to enslavement and accelerated depopulation. With that said, the only hope for human salvation is to acquire and spread the knowledge of these activities and agendas. Resist, retaliate, then conquer this imposing enemy. The time is now, as humanity is rapidly approaching its final days.
Watch the movie on Friday.
What's it called?
No, it's not. There's not a. It just has that sound.
Oh, coming to theaters this December. So Scott said that the 9/11 is a representation of the death of Christ, the real death of Christ. Not like in April and then resurrected. Not April.
Oh.
Is it April, right?
So, but what proof do we have that that is the real death of Christ?
Yeah, I don't know. That
Would I mean, you know, like, I mean, we know that like there's just there's so many questions.
Is that what Christian historians are saying?
Well, because they say that they don't think that Christ really died on the or on Easter or whatever. That he died at a different time. And that I don't know, something tells them that is true. I think there's like there's a phrase in the Bible saying that he died during like a time when you would have been bringing home the lambs, which would have been in September or something like that. The only thing I can like think of it. But it's like you're reading out of a Bible. Like you're reading something that's been deciphered and translated like 100 times already. Like it's totally out of context. It's missing books. Like how can you trust the Bible?
You know, the victors wrote history and could change the religious texts how they chose.
Okay, yeah, but what does that mean, Basil?
That means, yeah, all history is manipulated based on whoever won and on their perspective.
Right, but I mean, but that's not saying that Jesus died on 9/11. And I mean, what relation does that have to everything? I mean, so you kill a bunch of people in 2 buildings. What does that have to do with Jesus being born? Or Jesus's? Oh, did you say? The death, or that Jesus is dying during the day. I heard actually that he was actually born in September and not born in December. That's what I heard when actually studying it. There was something different about that. So, I don't know. Go be. We're going to watch the second one. All right, we're going to watch this. Well, we're going to watch part of this. This is 3 hours long. Thanks, Scott. That's definitely what we wanted to watch right now. No, we're not going to watch all this. This is way too long. Oh, that's a nice face there.
Try to actually make it appear that we're being invaded. So that's a very, very significant concern. And all of this stuff with September 20th, remember, back to the slide now, this all happened before the election.
Wait, why is this?
And the election, of course, is something that I can't even talk about because it was so contentious. But suffice it to say that, these things are being set up if they're needed. The next thing, and you've heard me say this before, back to the slide again, the head of the Israeli secret space program reveals that extraterrestrials are already here. This was on December 20th, 2020. And so I showed you this before, but it is very important in context, so I'm reviewing it again. They have a galactic federation, and it's real, but they're hiding until we're ready. Even TMZ had this to say. And then this article we're going to read from Middle East Eye, aliens exist and Trump knows it, says the former head of Israeli space program. And then here's another thing where the former president or current president, depending on how you're looking at it, was on the verge of confirming. We won't go any further on that line of inquiry. Anyway, so Middle East Eye, here we go. That's the article I just showed you. The former head of Israel's space program has claimed that the U.S. and Israeli governments are in touch with extraterrestrials. They don't like the term aliens because they're human. They're not aliens. So that's kind of like racism, folks. And we're already hearing a lot about racism, so let's please stop using that word and just call them extraterrestrials. And that a galactic federation is already in existence. Haim Eshed, who ran the Israeli space program for nearly 30 years. Just stop and grok that for a second. Don't let that one go by. 30 years he ran their space program. Do you think he knows what he's doing? You think he knows what he's talking about? Yeah. He said humanity isn't ready to make contact with this extraterrestrial civilization. And he claims that these ETs actually had to intervene to prevent U.S. President DT from blurting out their secrets. The 80s.
Could it be that they knew that we're gonna be that maybe they're a little embarrassed. They had to they didn't want us to meet the ETs yet. They're like, hold on, we got some folks that haven't really got up to speed yet. They're still living in on a different level. We need to get some people up to speed before we meet up with the aliens. We're just skimming through this.
What is he saying?
He's talking about how the reasons why extraterrestrials are real and how the governments knew about them and all this stuff. We kind of reviewed all this stuff. Well, not all of it. We're just skipping around to see what else he's got. Yeah, he's going in the individual ones. We got some books coming we're going to talk about from the CIA papers. Let's see if jet flaps added.
Jet flaps to make it more stable as it's trying to take off. And in the air, In the mid-1970s, Arian introduced the concept of jet flaps to augment the amount of aerodynamic lift generated by a Dynair ship for a given amount of power. While this concept was applicable to semi-buoyant and heavier-than-air Dynair ships, it probably had its biggest impact on the heavier-than-air Dynair ships. And by the way, folks, we're 3 hours in and I'm almost done with these slides, okay? We're almost done. Arian patent 4,108,000. I'm sorry, let me say that again. Arian patent US 4,000,000.
All right, hold on. We're going to go to this timestamp. 158.
Lifting body aircraft for VSTOL service filed October 1st, 1976, granted April 7th. Described as a sphere,
Pyramid UFOs are real.
Unicorn, and a metallic-looking blimp in the intelligence briefing, they say. Out there that we've heard about in UFO literature that looks similar to these pyramid UFOs. Well, they look an awful lot like the infamous TR-3B. And we remember September 20th last year, they flew one in daylight. Thousands of people saw it over New Jersey. Tons of videos were taken. But now everybody just says, it's Photoshop. But wait a minute. The mainstream media's acknowledged thousands of people saw this and that the military didn't do anything about it. So it's probably...
Well, that's what it's kind of coming out to right now, right? Is that all these UFOs are they can't say now they're not going to say they're fake anymore. They're just going to say we don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the gist of it. I don't think they're going to try to elaborate on anything.
But yeah, I think I don't know. Do you want to end the podcast now? Do you want to do the official podcast on this weekend? Sunday. I might go hiking Sunday. Maybe Monday. All right. We might do it on Monday. We'll do the official episode 4 Monday. We have the Dulce base to officially get into. I gotta change. I guess this is episode 4. This is episode 4. So we're gonna do episode 5. We're going to do 2 in 1 week because we got more stuff to talk about. And we're just trying to figure out when is a good time with both of our schedules to do this podcast. So I guess thanks everybody for watching. And you want anything to say?
So we did mention that we were going to start getting into some books and maybe reading some excerpts, but I'm not sure in which way we should try to do that, where I was going to either have my own page and just go over some books that I have, but I kind of go like all over the place. Like I have like aliens and like energetic, like interdimensional type stuff. But I mean, just reading it like page by page, do I just like, I have another YouTube page I can start it on. I think I'm gonna probably just do that on Just Our Child, and then
I think you'd be better off just doing it here on this channel. Is doing even whatever.
All of it.
Yeah, just talk about whatever. I would have it somewhat organized. Maybe pre-read it and then highlight the parts that you want to read out loud.
Okay.
That seems to be the best way. No sense in starting a whole extra channel when we're going to have a hard enough time growing this one. Might as well put as much content on this as possible.
That's true. Okay. Yeah, that'd be easy to just like kind of read some excerpts from these books I have.
Yeah. And sorry about the mic thing. We'll get it figured out next time. Thanks for participating, Scott, and sending us some cool content.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, I don't know if they hear you or not. I guess they could.